How to raise your prices. Many coaches want to not just raise their price, but they often want to just make more money per client, which is obviously a good thing. If you make more money per client, then everything is a little bit easier. You don't need as many clients and you can really focus on each client and give them more dedicated time as well. And it's less hectic and you feel more appreciated, and so everything's nice. However, increasing your prices is way harder than most coaches assume. And here's why. And for that, I would like to split this in two groups. There's like raising prices on existing clients, and there's raising prices on new clients. And raising prices on new clients is, in theory, way easier. So, because if, for example, your price is today like, I don't know, 500 or 1,000 per month, and then you just say, okay, now it's 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever. Then you just change the price number on your front page or on your offer. And in theory, that's way easier. The reality, however, is that when you try to raise prices on new clients, then there's a lot of mindset work involved. Because what I often observe with clients is that they struggle to actually keep the price. Like they say, okay, I had this recently with a client, and she said, okay, I wanted to raise my prices from 9,000 to 12,000. And she said, okay, my new price is 12,000. And then when she was in a call with a prospect and they asked, okay, what's the price? Then she said 9,000. And she said 9,000 because she wasn't emotionally ready for the 12,000. There's like, you need to believe that your service is actually worth the higher price. You need to have proof for yourself that the service is actually worth it. But on the other hand, there's often a topic where coaches feel like, if I raise my prices, then I eliminate part of the market, and the people that I want to help won't be able to afford my service anymore. And the thing is, that's part of the idea, that you're moving basically your whole segment a little bit up. So you go from people with less money and not necessarily smaller problems, that's not the right way to look at it, but like often in a way lower level problems to higher level problems, or like more expensive problems. And so the market segment doesn't just shrink at the lower end, it also expands at the higher end. And so you're basically moving both ends of the spectrum. But the first thing that you see is that people that you have talked with in the past won't positively react to the new price because they can't afford it, or some parts of them can't afford the new price. And even before they react to it, you assume their reaction, and then you basically stop yourself from raising the price. And this is one of the most common things on what I see why coaches don't, or not just coaches, many types of people, companies, whatever, struggle to raise their price because they are in a way afraid of it. They are afraid of losing a segment of the market that they have become comfortable. And if you change the segment of your market, then a lot of other things have to change as well. So for example, when you start, let's say at the lower end, you advertise to people that are buying coaching services in the range of 1,000 euro per month. Yeah. The messaging and the type of service that these people buy is fundamentally different than what people buy that buy coaching services for, let's say, 10K a month, just to make it a bit more extreme. And the whole messaging, where you talk to these people, where you find these people, how the service has to look like, the quality, the processes around this, so that everything is really also reliable and feels more premium. All this has to change as well. So it's not just changing the price on new customers. You kind of have to change everything so that it matches the people, the potential clients that you will be able to charge that price from. And if you try to raise your prices on existing clients, then that becomes even harder. Because if you want to raise the client's price, then first of all, you can't do it that drastically because they are kind of used to a certain price, and they expect that if the price rises, then either the quality of your delivery has had to increase. It must have increased in the past, and they have seen it, and now are saying, hey, I increased and I've improved my service a lot, and that's why I'm changing prices. Or they just recently need to have a big win as well, so that they feel like, okay, this is actually worth it. This is actually worth more than I'm paying. Okay, so now I need to pay a little bit more. So you kind of have something to offset the increase in price. And so you're basically working with an existing structure, and there's a lot more that goes into that. And so often when you start raising your prices on new clients. And then at some point you say, hey, existing client, I raised my prices to this new level, and I have now a few clients at this new level. And so I'm going to start, you are my clients for some time, so you don't have to pay the full price right now, but over the next 6 or 12 months, I'm going to go to the same price as well, and like step by step increase it to that as well. And that requires that there are a lot of things outside of the pure pricing thing that actually go right. Like you need to get new clients. You need to have a system in place that actually gets you new clients, and so that you have the opportunity to raise your price on new clients. And you have to have so many clients that if you say, hey, existing client, I want to raise my prices, and they say no, then I'm quitting, that you say that's okay for me and genuinely mean it. Because otherwise you're like always in a very weak negotiation position. And all this then again goes along with the mindset you have about the prices. And so raising prices is really more than just putting a higher number on your website, or if you should put prices on your website at all, it's another topic. But just saying a higher number in a sales call, it's much more than that. And like the price, how much you can actually increase your price is just a test of how well everything that surrounds the topic of price is actually in place. And if it isn't in place, then you can't raise your prices, and you feel it, and then you just don't, and then you just avoid the topic and stay with low prices for eternity. And at some point you think like, hey, I don't feel appreciated for what I'm doing. And that's how many coaches quit.